Now that we have our ID and password created, let's go ahead and log in again, and let's actually take a look at the UI. So we'll click on Sign In to Console. This is going to bring us to the same user ID and password, the same sign-in screen that we left off in the last video. And again, if you're used to this screen and you're trying to create a new AWS ID and password, you can just come right to this screen and click on this button down here, create a new user ID. So we had explore aws21@gmail.com, I believe was our email address. And then let me go ahead and enter in our password here. Hopefully I get the right one. Looks like I did, in theory. So when we first log into our management console, it's pretty bare. I mean, there's a lot of information here. There's a lot of things that we can see. So you can see that down on the bottom, there are some tutorial videos that you can watch. So if you're looking for databases, storage, etc., there are some pretty cool tutorial videos that you can learn. There are some different solution-based articles that you can look at. So if you're looking to launch a virtual machine or you want to build a web app, there's some pretty quick videos and there's some cool documentation that you can go and read, and it will literally guide you through everything you need to do. Go here, click this, type that, etc. The documentation within the management console is very, very thorough, and it is pretty cool. The other thing that I want to point out is you do have SDKs available. So if you're somebody that's interested in gaining access and using the CLI, gaining access with the CLI, and being able to leverage some SDKs to do some programming and things of that nature, that is absolutely available within AWS. So it is very, very cool. It's very accessible. Now, when you log in, you're going to see a little bell here. This is kind of a little alarm bell. It'll let you know kind of how you're doing, right? Do you have what's your event log, and do you have any open issues, etc. To the right of that, you're going to see your account. Now, if you have an enterprise account like me, when I sign into my Cisco AWS account, that account says my username followed by my account number that actually belongs to Cisco. Now, the one thing that I do want to make sure that I mention and call out again is that this is the root account. So Explore AWS 21, this is our root account. So you can see my account number here. This is where I can make all of my organizational changes. So if I need to make a change to my support agreement, if I want to make a change to something globally for my organization, this Explore AWS 21 is my root account. As we get further down in this video series and as we look at some of the different things that you're going to want to set up, like your IAM roles, we'll talk about what those are later on. You're going to want to create separate administrative users for your AWS accounts. You do not want to use your root account, even though I do it all the time. In theory, it's against best practices to use that root account to log into all of the services within AWS. You want to try to build and have some organizational accounts that say, look, if you're going to be using the CLI, or you're going to be, just maybe doing billing, or you're going to be doing, these few different functions, build accounts just for those things and don't use your root account, even though we all know that we're going to be lazy and we're going to use our root account. I'm just giving you best practices so that if you get asked that question or you're setting this up for your organization, you know. Now, to the right of that, you're going to get where your region is in your availability zone. So you can see here that by default, when I've logged in, I've been given US East, Ohio, US East 2. So this is my availability zone that I've been given when I logged in. All I need to do to change that is just select a different availability zone. So if I check different ones, you can see now I'm in Northern Virginia. As you start to build out your infrastructure, it is really important that you check what availability zone and what region you're in. And the reason why I say that is because if you are in, let's say, Northern Virginia, and you're in that region and you're in US East 1, let's say US East 1A, for example, because these are regions, right? So let's say I'm in this region of Northern Virginia and I'm in US East 1, and there are 6 different availability zones within that region. What's going to happen is everything that I build within that region is going to be in US East. If I go to US East 2, for example, if I log in, tomorrow and I'm looking for my web app and for some reason, I've selected, or it's just happened by accident, my region is now US East or some other region, what's going to happen is that I'm not going to see the application that I literally just spent all day previous building, because everything that we build is going to be specific to the region that we're in. So, and you can build, things that are separate. You can, scale these things. You can have connections between your VPCs. That's getting a little bit more advanced than we're going to look at in this video. Point being, make sure that you check what region and what availability zone you're in, because you want to make sure that you're building everything accurately and in the right area. Now, in order to access different things within the console, what's going to happen is you're just going to simply need to type here in the search field. Now, if you've accessed a lot of things before, they're going to come up here. If you don't know what you're looking for, you can expand the all services, but let's just take EC2 for example. Let's just say that EC2 is buried way down here somewhere, and I was really just too lazy to do that. I could come up here and I could type EC2, and what's going to happen is AWS is going to automatically give me the link of anything that contains EC2. So I can go to the EC2 dashboard. I can go in here and light up some EC2 servers. I can look at the image builder. You know, it gives me those results, and it also gives me documentation. So if I'm looking to how to build my EC2 instances, how do I do this? I don't know how. I can go to the documentation. So I'm just going to click EC2 and just go into that. Just again for an example. And here's my EC2 dashboard. This is where I can launch my EC2 instances, my server instances if I want to. It's going to give me kind of a readout here. Do I have any load balancers? Do I have any instances running, etc.? What do I actually have? Now, if we head back to our main management console, you'll notice that underneath recently visited services, we now see EC2. This field was actually just added dynamically now that we've accessed a service, or now that we've accessed a different dashboard within AWS. Previously, it was just all services. Now, another thing that we may want to do is look at our VPC, which stands for our virtual private cloud. This is where you're going to actually set up your different networking. So this is where you would set up your various different subnets. This is where you would look at, how many different networks are you going to have, etc. Now, everybody's going to get a default VPC. We'll get a little bit into that later on, but I want to at least show you. So if you scroll down here, you can see underneath the networking, you'll see your VPC, you'll see CloudFront. This is what we're after. But again, if I'm really lazy, I'm just going to type VPC in the search field, and I'll go ahead and click on VPC. This is going to be our virtual private cloud. Now, this is our dashboard for our VPC, so it's going to show us how many VPCs we have, how many subnets we have, how many routing tables are available. Let's go ahead and click on subnets. So this is going to give us some default subnets right out of the gate. Again, I didn't build this. This is exactly what AWS has given us. So we do have a VPC already. So if we click on VPC, you're going to be able to see that. You'll be able to see your subnets. Again, we're going to take a deeper dive into this, into some of these features later on. Just want to show you where to find some quick things. If I go over here and I click AWS in the upper left-hand corner, it's going to bring me back to my console. And now if I click recently visited services, I'm going to see VPC and I'm going to see AWS. Each one of these, EC2. Each one of these services that you click on, so let's just go to EFS for example. One more. I think we're going to use all these anyway. You'll see that each console has its own dashboard. So as you go into EC2, that'll have its own dashboard. As you go into your VPC, that'll have its own dashboard. Everything kind of has its own little dashboard that gives you an idea of where you are. In your upper left, you'll click on AWS again. You go back to the console. Always remember that you can always leverage the search feature no matter where you are. So if I go into EC2, for example, and I'm in that dashboard, this search field stays put. So if I go in and I say, you know what, I need to get to my VPCs from here because I need to make a change in my networking, or I want to look at subnets or whatever I need to do as I'm building out this application. Oops, I have to go there. This search field stays available. So does the support center. So if I need to go and look at documentation or training, or if I need to actually open up a support ticket while I'm working on that application, I can do that from here. And one last thing to just show you kind of where you are is you'll notice here that I have my region set to Northern Virginia. So it'll tell you actually right here underneath service health rather. It'll tell you that my region is currently set to US East, Northern Virginia, and here are the availability zones that I can use. I have an option to pick any one of these. And we'll get into how to do that. As I go to deploy an application, it'll ask what availability zone do I want to put it in? Is it A, B, C, D, E? Essentially, these are individual data centers that I can put my application in. As long as I'm within the region, I can build an application with the web servers in US East 1A and the database servers in US 1E. So I can build this geographically in two different data centers that may be spread across Northern Virginia. And then if I go to Ohio, US East in Ohio, you'll notice that there's only 3 data centers in Ohio. So again, just keeping track of where you are, keeping track of how you're building your app, what region and what availability zone you're putting it in. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.